Hey there. So as parents, now we know that there are spectacle lenses that can slow down myopia in your kids. And there's more and more and more myopia management spectacle lenses that are coming out in the market. And most people think, and a lot of parents are told at a lot of the opticals, these are all the same, just get any one, it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, they don't all work. The science is real, and if you get the wrong lens, you might not be getting as good of effect for your child as you could. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning. I'm Dr. Michael Nelson, your YouTube eye doctor, and I have 30 years of experience in the optical field. I've got tens of thousands of followers, and I'm a key opinion leader in optometry. And my job is simple here. I want to make eye care simple. And today, the thing that we're going to make simple is myopia management spectacle lenses. Which ones are the best? Okay, so today I'm going to do three things with you. Number one, I'm going to tell you which are the two leading brands of myopia management spectacle lenses that you should consider for your kids. Number two, we're going to look into a study that compares the two and tells them, are these both actually the same or is one better than the other? And number three, I'm going to tell you the three things that we do in our clinic specifically to get the best outcome for our kids that are in myopia. Like I said, there's a lot of different myopia management spectacle lenses that are coming onto the market. And a lot of times, if you go into a clinic, they might say, oh, this one's the best, or this one's better, or they're all the same. It doesn't really matter which one you get. But that's not really true. The science shows that there is definitely a difference between the myopia management spectacle lenses out there. And there definitely are two front runners on which lenses have performed the best in studies. And the two that are the front runners are the Stellest lens from Essilor and the Miyosmart lens from Hoya. And these lenses have a lot of clinical data to back them up, and they both show that they're pretty good lenses. And arguably, these have the biggest market share right now. But the question is, which one of these is better? And so there was a study that actually put a head-to-head comparison, not to compare which one is better, but to compare, are these two lenses the same? Is there any difference between these two lenses? Now, I've got a video on both of these lenses, which I'm going to put down in the description below. So if you want to learn about each of these lenses individually and how they work, you could talk about that. But both of these operate on a peripheral defocus technology, but they have a slightly different technology in each of their lenses. Now, this study was a unique study done out of Europe because it was done on European kids. A lot of the research studies that have been done on Asian kids. And it was also unique because it was a real clinic study. So this is a retrospective study, which means they went back and looked at the data in this clinic of kids that had been fit in different lenses. They didn't design the study first and then say, pick the subjects and put them through the study. These kids were treated with these lenses in a regular, normal clinic, and then they looked at the results of that study. And they had about 150 kids that they analyzed. Some of the kids were the DIMS Miyosmart technology, and some of the kids were the HAL Stellest technology. And it was a 2-year study. And after 2 years, there was no difference statistically between the performance of these two lenses. Now, there's two numbers that we look at when we're wondering if this lens works. One of the numbers that a lot of people are familiar with is Diopters, and that's the strength of the lens. You'll notice it'll be minus a certain number. And that's a more familiar number, but in my opinion, it's not the most important number. So on average, the change per year for the Miyosmart lens was 0.25 diopters per year over the 2 years. And for the Stellest technology, it was 0.31 diopters per year over the 2 years. Now, those sound like a little bit of difference, but statistically, those are no difference. The thing you have to remember that the smallest change that as optometrists that we can make in your glasses prescription is a 0.25 change. We can't even make a lens with that much of a difference. Now, in my opinion, the more important number is the axial length. And axial length is the length of your eyeball. And that's a really important number that we want to slow down. We want to slow down the growth. I don't really care what the power is of your lens, but I care that your eye is not growing. Because the problem is with myopia is that if your eye grows too fast, it stretches all those tissues inside the eye. And that's what puts you at risk for eye disease when you're an adult. Things like more increased risk for retinal detachment, myopic maculopathy, glaucoma, cataracts, all these diseases, their risk goes sky high when you have a higher axial length. So that's a more important number. And in fact, that's a number that we can actually measure in smaller changes, and we can measure more accurately than the prescription change. So that's the number we rely in our clinic to know whether your myopia management is working or not. So the change in the axial length per year for the two lenses, for the Miyosmart, the change over 2 years was 0.15 millimeters per year. And the change for the Stellest lens was 0.16 millimeters per year. And that, again, is such a small difference. The ratio that we have for the axial length to prescription is 0.1 millimeter is equivalent to 0.25 diopters. But basically, these lenses are working equivalent. Now, the interesting thing about this study is that if you dove deep into the data of the study, and if you want to learn a little bit more about the study, I'll put a link to the study in the description below. And I'll also have another little podcast that I've done with a summary of that study, so you can look into that as well. But if you dive deep into the data, what they found that there was a little bit of difference in the performance of these lenses in particular kids. So if you look at the best case scenario, these are the kids that had no change in their prescription. Basically, it halted the prescription completely after 2 years. The Miyosmart lens slightly outperformed the Stellest lens in the number or the percentage of kids that had no change. The Miyosmart lens, there was 38% of the kids had no change over 2 years, and the Stellest had 21% of the kids that had no change. Conversely, though, if you looked at the kids that had the worst case scenarios, these are called what we call rapid progressors, kids that changed rapidly even though they were in these technologies. The Stellest lens at 1 year, they outperformed the Miyosmart lens. So at 1 year, the Stellest lens, that one had no kids that had changed by a diopter or more, but the Miyosmart lens had about 8% of kids that had a change of a diopter or more in just 1 year. So that was a pretty big change. So what the deep analysis of some of this data tells us is that while these lenses are both equivalent, and I think you could probably get either one of these lenses and it'd be a really great choice, there might be one particular lens that might work in a certain group of kids that you want a certain outcome, and there's a different lens that you might want a different outcome in another group of kids. And you might want your doctor to watch that closely. And we found the same thing in our clinic, that every kid is a little bit different and every kid responds a little bit. And so there's 3 things that we do in our clinic that would help us. And this is what I would recommend that you make sure that your doctor is doing for you. So number 1, we follow our kids really closely every 3 months. Second thing that we do is that we use the smallest and most accurate measurement to follow changes, and that's axial length. The key measurement for myopia management is following the axial length. So you want to make sure you're seeing a doctor that measures the axial length. It's a simple test to do, and it's a way better measurement than measuring your glasses prescription. And number 3, we will tailor our approach and modify the approach depending on if an approach is working. We might add some other treatments that can control myopia management or change the treatment if one isn't working as well as it should. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about a lens that might actually perform better than both of these lenses, you need to be watching this video right here. And with that, have a great optometry day.